the railway that will now go into Uganda and into the DRC. And that we intend, with all programs being in place, to begin that program before the end of this year. I have also briefed His Excellency the President of the commencement of the extension of the dualling of the road from Nairobi to Nakuru to Mau Summit and eventually to Malaba, again to ease transport and logistics between our two countries and also into the East African region. The MOU we have just signed provides a robust framework for that engagement to happen. The MOU on standards and quality assurance is to strengthen the collaboration between our two bureaus of standards, again to enhance trade and to eliminate illicit, substandard, and contraband goods finding their way into our markets. The MOU on agriculture and animal husbandry will expand our cooperation in both veterinary and crop health, innovation, and of course to foster food security in our region. The MOU on fisheries and aquaculture will focus on the management and the joint capacity building of the resources that we have in the space in our waters, both in Kenya and Uganda, and to see how we can leverage the opportunities that are in the blue economy, not just to expand our economies, but also to build on our food security requirements. The MOU on the support of sustainable urban development of the Greater Busia Metro project, which will be undertaken between this year and 2028, will seek to facilitate the implementation of joint programs on infrastructure and other development projects in Busia. I'm happy that the governor of Busia County from Kenya is in our midst, and he has come to make sure that we don't forget that this is an important project, because the Metro of Busia is a shared city, both between Kenya and Uganda. We have Busia on the Kenyan side, and we also have Busia on the Ugandan side, and we have communities that speak the same language on both sides. And this will give us the opportunity to do the expanded market, which is an East African initiative to create the transport corridor and infrastructure for the one border post to facilitate easier movement of goods and services into and out of Uganda, to the port of Mombasa and to the East African region on the other side. The MOU on tourism is to promote a joint destination and marketing, cultural exchange, and ecotourism. Emormor will now find it much more easy to find his way into Kenya. As you are aware, Mr. President, we have the Teso King, who some Kenyans owe allegiance to him, so sometimes they find their way to Uganda. Somehow he stays in Uganda. Maybe we'll also find some residence for him in Kenya. But part of it is the whole building, the whole system of cultural tourism between our two regions. And just to confirm to you, Mr. President, I have appointed a special envoy for the Atakari people, which span all the way from the Teso of Uganda and Kenya, the Karamojong, the Turkana, the Pokot, all the way to the people of South Sudan and that region, just to leverage on the culture and tradition and tourism of the communities that live there. Your Excellency, I also appreciate in our consultations that shortly we will be signing the agreement on sharing of resources between the Karamojong and the Turkana communities in northern part of Kenya and Uganda. That will again facilitate greater harmony between the communities living in that area. And on behalf of the people and government of Kenya, and on behalf of the people of Turkana County, to sincerely appreciate your consideration of some of our Kenyans incarcerated in Uganda, that we will shortly be having a conversation on how this can be resolved, both at a government level and at a cultural level. And we look forward to the signing of the agreement on resource sharing that will facilitate these communities to share the resources of water, pasture, and other resources in that region in a manner that is mutually beneficial to the people of our two countries, and that promotes greater harmony between the communities there. And these agreements also signify our joint resolve to turn our cooperation into practical results that will directly uplift the lives of both our peoples. We also acknowledged the ongoing negotiations on other important instruments, as I have said, notably the cross-border resource sharing agreement, which we hope to finalize this year. We reiterated the value of the Joint Ministerial Commission as a crucial vehicle for driving our bilateral agenda forward, following the successful second Joint Ministerial meeting session held in Kampala in May 2024, and our technical teams who have continued working closely to actualize the outcomes that we agreed upon. Your Excellency, I must also commend you and the government of Uganda for facilitating greater understanding of the communities around the Little Rock in Migingo, and the conversation that we have had on how we should bring greater harmony and greater understanding of the communities there, and how we can facilitate the joint sharing of resources. And the MOU that has been signed here on fisheries will also facilitate the use and sharing of the resources in the blue economy in a manner that does not create acrimony, but promotes harmony between the peoples of that region. Kenya is scheduled to host the midterm review of the second joint ministerial conference from the 11th to the 13th of August here in Nairobi this year. At the principal and permanent secretary level, this will be an important platform to evaluate the implementation and progress, and to set new priorities for the next phase of engagement. On trade, we reiterated concerns over persistent non-tariff barriers that hinder the flow of goods and frustrate the objectives of our region and the integration exercise that is underway in the East African Community Framework. We emphasize the need for a principled, practical, and time-bound resolution of these barriers, given their direct impact on livelihoods, especially for farmers and traders. The forthcoming Joint Ministerial Conference midterm review and the Joint Trade Committee meeting in October 2025 will be crucial in ensuring that there are positive outcomes on all these fronts. We also committed ourselves to strengthening regional institutions and furthering the objectives of the East African Community, including progress under the Customs Union, Common Markets, Monetary Union, and ultimately a political federation. I shared my view and that of the people of Kenya and the shared view between the peoples of our two countries on a fast tracking of the East African community steps towards a political federation that will bring synergy between the peoples of our two countries and the East African community in general. The East African community continues to demonstrate its potential as a good model of effective regional integration. We emphasize the centrality of unity, economic convergence, and shared prosperity as guiding principles for deeper integration. President Museven and I also held constructive discussions on regional peace and stability, and we reaffirmed our position that security is essential to sustainable development and commended ongoing regional peace-building initiatives. We further agreed to collaborate closely in conflict resolution efforts, advocating inclusive approaches supported by both regional and international frameworks. In conclusion, I sincerely thank our elder, His Excellency President Museven, for honoring Kenya with his presence and for his strong and enduring leadership in East Africa. And Kenya remains a dedicated partner and a true friend of the people, government, and Republic of Uganda. I thank you. Let me allow Mzee now to make his remarks. Karibu Mzee.
His Excellency President Ruto,